comes the sun, I say it's alright.
Hello everybody, I wanted to give my take on the new George Harrison multiple LP box set, All Things Must Pass, remixed by Paul Hicks. I did an unboxing last week, and I'm doing a sort of a proper review now, and I'm also writing a print review for Part-Time Audiophile. I've listened to this reissue, all the records, on a few different amplifiers. The Air EX8 2.0, the Parasound Halo 6 Hint, and the Shit Ragnarok Nexus, and just today I got in the Technics SUR 1000. So I got many different flavors of this reissue, and overall I really like it. I think it sounds great. You know, I also have the 2018 reissue, which was a remaster, I believe, and it was very, very clear and got rid of a lot of the murk from the original sessions, but it was sort of thin. And when I first put this one on, like most people, I thought, oh my God, it's really murky and all that bass. But the more I listen with different amplifiers, I'm also listening with my Thorns TD124 and a Clear Audio cartridge into a Sculpture A step-up, a really fantastic step-up transformer. I really got to hear that, you know, the voices are, it's like Paul Hicks focused on the voices. The voices are really pure and have a lot of body and depth. Guitars and voices, I think, really sound great, and the drums are a little more up front, and it's a very, very full mix. It sounds better on bookshelf speakers. I'm currently listening to the Golden Ear BRX than it did my big DeVore 096, which are kind of big for this room. I think there are certain misconceptions out there that I've just had cleared up for myself in the last 2 or 3 days, really. I watched a fellow YouTuber basically complain, why can't this be like a Tone Poet? You know, where they take the old ones and run the tape with minimal mastering, and we get that, which most people like, the Tone Poet, the Music Matters, and the Craft, the very clear reissues that are extremely upfront and extremely pretty. Well, this is the recording of this album could not have been more different from a Rudy Van Gelder recording. Rudy Van Gelder, Inglewood Cliffs, I've been there. He was doing minimal miking. At the most, for the average Blue Nut session, 5 people. Sometimes the horn player's playing into one horn, maybe 3. I would think at the most, 3 microphones on the drums, a microphone on the piano, which he was always trying to cordon off from the other instruments before they started putting them in separate rooms. But a very simple process, you know, as few effects as possible. Phil Spector, the exact opposite. That's why we hear so much reverb. And I was talking to Mike Trey, and, you know, saying that we don't really know if the reverb went on while they were recording into the track or they did it in mixing. So, and also, you know, Rudy Van Gelder was probably 2-track. All Things Must Pass was kind of an 8-track machine, then taken over to Trident, where they put it on a 16-track machine where they could do further overdubs. And every time they do overdubs, you are losing some sound quality, I believe that's correct, as you mix down the drums to different channels. The more you stack, the more you lose. And particularly with all that reverb as well, that probably increased all the reverb. But there's no way you can go back and totally eliminate the reverb from these tracks. You can't do it because they're probably in the original tracks. It sounds like that's what they tried to do in the 2018, or it might have been the 2017 reissue, because it's much cleaner sounding. But I had my buddy Steve Coleman the other night, and we compared this to that, the 2017 mix, and agreed this is much fuller, and more importantly, the vocals are really, really natural sounding on the main disc. Now the other, you have extended Apple jams, which I think are kind of a waste. I mean, those were not exciting when they came out. It's a rock band from the early 70s jamming. It's about what you'd expect. They're trying to feel each other out. You got to remember, probably about 10 people in a room, again, as compared to like 5 people in Englewood Cliffs. And it's funny because I've seen the photos of it was Abbey Road Studio 3, which didn't get used very often. It looks smaller than Englewood Cliffs. I've been to Englewood Cliffs. It's a pretty big space, you know. So I think it was, you know, fewer musicians, larger space. Abbey Road, which is, you know, was in a residential area. Englewood Cliffs is built out on its own. It's a separate building that Rudy had custom made, one giant studio, as where Abbey Road Studio 3 looked to be very small. But the basic 3LP box set is fantastic. I honestly think they should have reissued this separately along with the booklet. And then, you know, as far as the vinyl goes, done this giant, it's like 5 LPs of demos. Now, my take on it, the acoustic demos with just George's voice is really beautiful. And you hear his voice so clean and clear and up front. And he actually, his vocals on the demos are better than the vocals on the final tracks. You almost get the impression he's trying to sing over the band, which you can't do. He's not a strong singer. He just never was. He has kind of a quiet voice. Almost song for song, the demos he's playing just with guitar, occasionally with Ringo on drums, are really great. Some of the demos are not that great. The sound quality is really natural, just like a demo would sound. But they also included all these demos of songs that didn't make the album. And when you hear these demos, you know why they didn't make the album. They're not very good songs. Sour Milk Sea, Jackie Lomax did it for his record. Cosmic Empire, Nowhere to Go, I Don't Want to Do It. I mean, they're just kind of miserable. He has the I Dig Love, which is interesting. Most of these demos with a band accompanying him, they're just kind of rocking out until they fleshed out the arrangements. So it's really interesting to hear the demo of I Dig Love, which is just a rock tune, as to what it became, which is kind of a surrealistic pastiche of, you know, of Ringo's drums over the top, very sparse. They almost sound like they're chopped and dropped. Sounds nothing like the original. But then his demo of The Art of Dying with guitar is really bleak and sad. I mean, really, really sad, at least it was to me. But then there are these other songs, Golders Green, Dear to Dawn, O'Haron. They're just hammering away. It's just like, I don't think those were ever meant for anybody to hear, because they're just kind of turgid and repetitive and dull, and it's like a dentist drill to your head. Someone noted in the comments to Norman Maslov's video that they had to release these or they would miss the 50-year cutoff for copyright. I think that's exactly what it is. Because, you know, this could have been 2 discs at the most, but really just one beautiful disc of just George playing the acoustic demos. Because that's really nice. You hear so much inflection in his voice and sustain and texture in his vocal that you do not hear on the finished release of him trying to sing over all this reverb. And the booklet, which if you saw my unboxing video, I showed this. The booklet is really a collector's item and really beautiful. All the original lyrics. I believe they should have released these 2 as one set and then maybe another set, or really maybe just these 2 as one set and then this only with that giant crate that Norman bought. Because I just feel like, except for the demos with his acoustic guitar, most of this was really unnecessary in my feeling. But anyway, it's great to have this record. This is such a beautiful record. The songs really hold up. You know, it's funny to think that he was, you know, insinuating all this Hare Krishna and Buddhist thought into the American Top 40. You know, George Harrison is really responsible for bringing the whole idea of Eastern mysticism to the U.S. as far back as Blue Jay Way, as far back as Within You Without You, as far back as the Sitars on Norwegian Wood. He was bringing it. He's the one to thank for that. And now things like yoga could not be more commonplace in our culture. But more importantly, George Harrison, one of the great songwriters of the 20th century, I believe with this record on par with anything else the other Beatles did. You know, when George is sort of quiet, he wasn't a quiet Beatle, but he had a kind of a quiet demeanor, even though he was funny and sharp and very intelligent. Anyway, that's my take on it. Thanks a lot, kids. Bye.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's alright.